A 17-year-old is in custody tonight after a shooting at a Texas high school leaves 10 dead and several others wounded.
I don't know a single San Diegan that's happy with the condition of our roads today.
The state recently kicked down some gas tax funds for local road improvement. Where that $300 million is going, coming up.
So dark. You sure you're not from the DC University?
And we've got your weekend fun preview, from a lowbrow anti-superhero flick to jazz, dance, and theater. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebone Monet. New details tonight in the Texas school shooting. 10 people were killed at the Houston area high school. The suspected shooter is a 17-year-old student. Police say he gave himself up, saying he didn't have the courage to take his own life. One student who spoke to reporters says she's not surprised her school was the target of the country's latest school shooting.
I was thinking it was going to happen eventually. It happens. It's been happening everywhere. I was ready to run out, but my teacher told me to hide instead, so that's what I did.
Authorities say most of the 10 killed were students. 10 others were wounded in the attack. For years, the U.S. has provided money and training to Mexico to keep its border with Central America secure. Now, part of that outsourced immigration enforcement is happening here at the San Ysidro port of entry. KPBS investigative reporter Jean Guerrero says some human rights lawyers say the collaboration is problematic.
The San Ysidro port of entry has space to detain about 300 people at a time, according to U.S. officials. When it reaches capacity, asylum seekers must wait in Mexico. Immigration officials there will then work to file them through the ports as space becomes available, sometimes through an unofficial ticketing system. Human rights lawyer Nicole Ramos says this is where the U.S.-Mexico collaboration on asylum seekers is problematic, because some who seek asylum in the U.S. are also fleeing the Mexican government. Ramos says the U.S. is obligated to process asylum seekers under federal and international law, not defer them to Mexico where their lives may be at risk.
Both of these governments are collaborating to violate international law and to help the U.S. evade its obligations under its own federal law, and it's just simply not acceptable.
KPBS reached out to several immigration agencies, including U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which declined to comment on whether it's collaborating with Mexico to process asylum seekers. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
Get ready to see more road improvement projects. Caltrans recently awarded the San Diego region more than $300 million for repair. That money comes from the recently implemented gas tax increase known as SB 1. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
Caltrans says in all, the San Diego region has received over $800 million from the increased gas tax this year.
You're going to see a lot more work going on, both on the freeway and on local roads.
A recent $300 million award is partially going toward deferred maintenance projects.
We've been doing the minimal amount for what we had funding for. Now we can do the actual fix that will last a long time. It's making a significant investment in our transportation system.
One of those projects will be here on the 15 freeway, where starting next month, you'll start to see some crews out on the roads, as Caltrans is going to be working to remove all of these plastic safety reflectors and painting on new wider striping to increase visibility for drivers.
I don't know a single San Diegan that's happy with the condition of our roads today.
State Assembly member Todd Gloria says more funding for road and transportation repairs has always been needed.
For so long, politicians have kicked the can down the road because it's difficult to talk about this issue. It's difficult to ask people for more money.
In addition to paving roads, this year money will go toward adding more rail lines and upgrading bike and walkways near freeways.
I think it was actually 1994 that we had the last gas tax increase. Nobody likes to increase taxes.
The future of the tax increase could be in voters' hands this November. A San Diego-based group says they have collected enough signatures to put a repeal measure to voters.
What I think will be difficult to do is to sell people on the notion that the status quo is acceptable, which is what they're saying, that everything is hunky-dory and that things are fine as they are. They're not fine. We have too much potholes, too much traffic congestion, not enough forward progress.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
San Diego International Airport is putting out the call for ideas to serve the millions of people who pass through its gates. KPBS news producer Ben Lacey shows us how the airport is turning to small businesses for innovation.
More people are deciding to spend their time and money in San Diego.
Your attention, please.
7.6 million visitors came to town from January through March. Compared to the same quarter last year, it's a jump of more than 8%. The San Diego Tourism Authority says 1 in every 3 visitors started their trip here at San Diego International Airport.
As an airport, we are a huge economic factor here, and we want to make sure that we continue that value that we provide to our community.
Rick Belliati is the airport's Director of Innovation and Small Business Development. His job is to find ways to make the travel experience more efficient and less stressful.
My goal in life is to really make the airport an integral part of the journey rather than an experience that you just want to get through. I really want to make that something that makes their journey valuable.
An international search is underway for the next big idea in the airport space. This summer, entrepreneurs will be working out of the old commuter terminal, which shut down in 2015. It has since been repurposed as a training ground, known as the Innovation Lab.
What we really tried to build here was a prototypical terminal, and so you'll see things like a ticket counter. We've got a gate back wall. We're probably the only place that I'm aware of that has an actual bag belt.
Nearly a dozen companies will be selected to focus on solutions in 2 areas: airport parking and mobility. They'll hope to match the success of PJ Mistracchio, the founder and CEO of At Your Gate.
We built an app that allows passengers, flight attendants, pilots, airport employees to shop anywhere inside the airport at restaurants or retailers.
At Your Gate worked closely with the airport for 18 months to develop its mobile delivery service. Food, books, batteries. If you need it and the airport has it, At Your Gate will bring it to you.
All right, and you wanted donuts, right?
The app could expand industry-wide if it catches on.
This is a collaborative situation. An accelerator should be able to help the startup, and the startup should be able to help the accelerator. So I think having the ability to not only help San Diego, but take what we've done successfully in San Diego and bring it to other airports, I think that's really the goal of the Innovation Lab.
Belliati is casting a wide and intentionally vague net for the Innovation Lab.
This is really a great example of how flexible the space is.
While it sounds like a high-tech incubator, successful ideas don't have to reinvent the wheel. They just have to make the wheel move a little faster.
One of the things I've kind of tried to caution is thinking about innovation as technology only. And so we've purposefully avoided, we want to look for new technologies because somebody may have a new process or a new way of doing things and looking at it that we hadn't thought of before.
The new batch of companies to be granted admission to the Innovation Lab will go through a 16-week program. The deadline for submissions is May 31st. Ben Lacey, KPBS News.
With our media partner, iNewsSource, we've been discussing the surprising amount of money being spent in the San Diego County District Attorney's race. Here with an update is iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano. So, Jill, what's the latest?
The latest is that I've been getting a lot of questions from people about how much outside money is actually going into this race. So I went back and figured out the answer to that question. I pulled all the numbers, and what I found is that most of the outside money, which means coming from these political action committees, is going to support Genevieve Jones-Wright. She's the deputy public defender. She's the challenger in this race. $706,000 so far spent to support her campaign. Meanwhile, Summer Stephan, about $317,000 of outside help going to support her. She's the interim district attorney, and she's getting a lot of help from local PACs and the Deputy District Attorneys Association, groups like that to support her campaign.
So why are PACs getting involved with this race?
they feel like there's a lot at stake in this race right now. So, for example, one thing is a couple weeks ago, a new PAC formed. This is a PAC that's getting money from the Chamber of Commerce. And the head of the Chamber of Commerce, Jerry Sanders, who's our former mayor, former police chief, I spoke to him this week. He said, we're getting involved because there's too much outside money going to support Genevieve Jones, right? We feel like it's alarming. We feel like we need to keep this local race and go out to support someone who we think deserves to win this race, even though we weren't planning to originally. Now we're getting involved.
Very interesting. Can you remind people where they can find more of your reporting?
Definitely. If you want to see anything about how much money's been going into this race, you can look it up on our website, data.inewssource.org.
iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano,
thank you
so much. iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. A familiar name in San Diego politics. Former Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher is running for a seat on the County Board of Supervisors. The Democrat says the board is not doing enough to address homelessness, affordable housing, and mental health needs, all while pushing President Trump's agenda. So you've been a state assemblyman. You ran for mayor. You're active in various causes. Why do you want the job as supervisor?
Well, we have an opportunity in our county, I think, to make a fundamental change in the Board of Supervisors. Right now you have a board that is not only all 5 Republicans, but just voted to take our tax dollars to advance the Trump agenda here in San Diego. And I think it's wrong. I think they're wrong in their embrace of Donald Trump. I think they're wrong in not having a real commitment to clean air and clean water and environmental protections. I think they're wrong in not spending enough mental health dollars to help those most in need and help our immigrants and refugees. And so I think it's going to take someone who has experience of having governed and led and delivered results, along with that willingness to push and fight to move them in a new direction. And the impact could be profound. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives that can be touched if we can get this county government moving in a new direction.
And you've touched on a number of issues, but if elected, what would you want to tackle first?
Well, I think the first one, and one of the things that got me first focused on the county, is the mental health crisis. You know, I've spent the last few years working tirelessly to help our veterans who are struggling with mental health injury. As a country, we're really great at making combat veterans. We aren't very great at taking care of them when they come home. And so I've really rolled up my sleeves and worked hard on that, both on legislation and in raising money to help in tackling the stigma. And our county is sitting on over $160 million of unspent mental health care funds. And that's money that needs to be deployed not just to help our veterans, but to help our foster kids, to help folks who are in probation, who are trying to set up for a better life, to tackle the homeless crisis. And so I think that's one of the highest priorities we have.
And another issue that we hear about a lot is the shortage of affordable housing in California and here in San Diego County. How would you chip away at that problem?
Well, you have a Board of Supervisors that voted to give the Chargers $150 million to build a football field. And whether someone thinks that was a good idea or a bad idea, we're not building a Charger stadium. And so I led the charge with a comprehensive plan on tackling the housing crisis to say we're going to take that $150 million you had to build something, and we're going to put it to use tackling the affordable housing crisis. And we had a lot of really creative ideas for how to increase density, for how to increase housing stock, for how to draw down more state tax credits, for how to really deliver results that help not only those who are homeless who need help, but frankly, we've got a lot of folks in between. There's a lot of folks that are working, and they're working full time, and they're working multiple jobs, and they can't afford to live here. And as a parent, you know, my wife and I have 4 kids. You worry about the future, and so we need a county that cares as much about tackling the housing crisis as they cared about investing in a football field.
And you speak on values. Why did you leave the Republican Party?
Well, I think when you look at the Republican Party today, the question is not why I left, it's why has anyone stayed? I mean, you know, we're going back many, many years now, and I had been raised a Republican, joined the Marine Corps, and I came out, but was a different kind of Republican even then. I always supported a woman's right to choose and marriage equality, believed climate change was real, and wanted a pathway for comprehensive immigration reform. But that was pre-Tea Party. That was certainly pre-Donald Trump. And what I saw was a Republican Party that went further and further and further to the right and really lost their way.
Nathan Fletcher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Most of us have taken a selfie or two, but there's always been one place in California where a selfie hasn't been allowed, and that's the voting booth. Here in California, it's been illegal to take what's called a ballot selfie, but as KPBS reporter Claire Tregessa reports, this year is different.
Voters are free to selfie it up thanks to a change in state law. Previously, it was illegal to show your marked ballot publicly to prevent vote buying and voter coercion. The law was changed at the beginning of 2017.
No, it is not illegal to take your ballot selfie.
San Diego County Registrar of Voters Michael Vu says it's still against the law to take photos or videos of other people voting. So if you are going to take that selfie, be respectful.
The polling place is a sanctuary for other voters, and so there's all due courtesy for the person that may be taking a picture of themselves and their ballot inside the polls to do that very quietly and, of course, can't disrupt.
The law was originally proposed to encourage more voter participation. So if you need the motivation of a selfie to make it to the polls this year, now you can snap away. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
And you can see all of our election coverage, including our handy voter guide at kpbs.org/election. And don't forget, Monday is the deadline to register to vote in the primary election coming up June 5th. San Diego Mesa College is granting its first bachelor's degrees Saturday. KPBS education reporter Megan Burke says 16 students will accept diplomas from the community college in health information management.
My son is in San Diego State right now, and my daughter is getting ready to graduate high school. So the funny thing is that the whole family says, well, you two can study together, and honestly, we have.
Victoria Bradbury started working toward an associate's degree at Mesa College 5 years ago after going through a divorce.
I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and then all of a sudden, you just don't know anymore. And I just always wanted to help people, and I thought that I wanted to do something in healthcare.
In her second year, Bradbury learned Mesa would soon offer bachelor's degrees in her field. State lawmakers approved a pilot in 2014 to let some community colleges offer four-year degrees.
And the rest is history. I haven't looked back, and I've done really well in all the classes. I graduated with high honors in the associate's program, and I'll be graduating with high honors in the bachelor's program.
Now Bradbury is eligible to rise through the ranks at her current employer, Sharp Home Health, and potentially make as much as $140,000, something that will help her pay for her son's tuition and soon her daughter's. Meanwhile, colleges are lobbying lawmakers to extend the pilot, otherwise it would end in 2023. Bradbury tells lawmakers
they really need to take this issue seriously because the gift that I was given by being able to attend this bachelor's program, for one, at the cost, plus the phenomenal faculty that are here, it's priceless. So it's something that it gives a lot of people like myself the opportunity to be able to not have a huge debt when I'm finished and to be able to support the rest of my family.
The program costs $10,500 compared to more than double that at the CSU. Miracosta College in Oceanside is also offering a bachelor's degree and expects to have its first graduates next year. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
This cooler weather will stick around through the weekend. Justin Pavig has the details in tonight's forecast.
More clouds on the way, and that'll hold temperatures down over the course of the next couple of afternoons. Low clouds, you call it fog, and that's going to, again, keep our temperatures mostly in the 60s toward the shoreline, although that's going to be relatively seasonable. Could even have some patchy morning drizzle. Not a whole lot going on right now on the satellite and the radar. In fact, the clouds eroding here from Oceanside out toward Ramona, and also toward San Diego and La Jolla. Points off to the east, Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna. More sunshine here over the course of the next couple of days, of course, further out from the marine impacts. And no big storm systems on the horizon. Notice the next pocket of clouds well offshore. That's kind of making a beeline here for northern portions of the state. So some thickening clouds for tonight, but not going to be producing any rain other than just a tiny bit of drizzle. Perhaps will drop down to an even 60. And notice numbers here are going to be a little bit lower toward Mount Laguna. Of course, they're higher up in terrain. Borrego Springs, lower elevation into the mid-60s. Chula Vista dropping down to 59. And for tomorrow, after a cloudy start with those low clouds, the sunshine returns late day. And we're talking about temperatures right around normal. Oceanside, San Diego, perhaps just 1 or 2 degrees below normal. Out from the coast, though, back into the 90s, we're going to sizzle in Borrego Springs. Heading in toward the weekend, notice dip in the jet stream. We're going to be talking about conditions that will not be favoring big-time warmth here anytime soon. Let's talk about the coastal locations as we venture our way into early week. Again, clearing skies means clouds start us off with similar temperatures here over the course of the next several days. Inland locations, we're talking about numbers into the upper 60s to lower 70s. Low clouds, a break for some sunshine. And then as we head on eastbound, mountainous terrain, actually a little cooler here Monday into Tuesday as that dip in the jet stream takes hold. And throughout the deserts, notice a little bit cooler. If you want to use cool, I'll just say lower temperatures here Monday into Tuesday. But all the while, we stay dry and sunny. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Povick. Back over to you, Ebony.
Jazz, dance, and historic houses are on the docket this weekend, plus a sneak peek at a new play at the Old Globe. KPBS Arts Calendar Editor Nina Guerin has your weekend preview.
Combining the free form of jazz with the structure of ballet may not seem like it makes sense, but at San Diego Ballet, this combination has become one of its most popular draws. A night of jazz and dance features original music by artists Charles McPherson and Kamau Kenyatta. The jazz is performed live on stage while ballet dancers move to the music. The choreography is by Javier Velasco, and he takes dancers out of their traditional tutus and hair buns. If you're a fan of architecture and historic houses, make sure to check out South Park's 20th annual Old House Fair. The South Park community was built in the late 1800s, and many of those historic homes have been restored to their original beauty. On Saturday, you can go on a docent-led tour throughout the neighborhood and see 5 featured homes. Throughout South Park, there will also be renovation workshops, chats with architects, and a bicycle tour of the neighborhood. The Old Globe recently opened 1,000 Splendid Suns, a play by Ursula Rani Sarma and novelist Khaled Hosseini. We spoke with Sarma about the importance of this play, and here's what she had to say.
I think this play offers a window into another reality, another place, another time. But having said that, the experiences of these characters are truly universal.
For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
Infinity War, Deadpool 2, and Han Solo. Pop culture geeks have a lot to choose from and argue about at the movies these days. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando has this review of Marvel's Deadpool 2.
Ryan Reynolds received dozens of rejections from studio execs before he finally got to assume his dream role of Deadpool.
Oh, you're living the dreams, DP. Yeah. Devil may care attitude.
Now, he not only returns as the flippant, foul-mouthed anti-superhero, but also as one of the co-writers. And I have to admit, Reynolds has Deadpool down pat.
I was rounding up all the gluten in the world and launching into space where it can't not hurt us ever again.
Kiss me like you miss me, Red.
Reynolds inhabits the character like a second skin and turns his snarky irreverence into a brand he milks till it's dry, then mocks himself for the crass exploitation. He's fearless in making fun of himself, and the result is a sequel that's better than the original. It's also crude, bloody fun and a good counterpoint to Marvel's somber Infinity War.
So dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?
Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Local leaders go to the White House to slam California's sanctuary law. SeaWorld's business may be turning around after years of decline. And the San Diego Zoo's fight to save rhinos from extinction. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
More than 3 million people call San Diego and Imperial County home. With 9,000 square miles of space, we have lots of communities across the region. As part of our KPBS Explore project, we wanted to find out what makes all these places special. We've traveled to 5 communities and asked people to tell us about where they come from and what they want everyone to know about where they live. Each Friday, we'll bring you their stories. Tonight, we focus on Southeast San Diego. Neighbors answer the question, what's in a name?
Southeastern, Southeast, Diamond communities, it's known by so many different things, by so many different groups of people. There's a lot in the name.
I feel like people just love the name of Southeast San Diego.
That name really carries a lot of power, a lot of empowerment.
Because when people say Southeast San Diego, it's not just what be known as the Diamond District. It also includes Barrio Logan and those areas down there.
I was introduced to it by the name of Southeast, and that was associated with a lot of crime.
Southeast San Diego. And that is the name that people who have been here for a while like to call it.
I believe that those who like the word Diamond District also understand that we are diamonds.
I feel like the Diamond District might have been a name that was put on the community, and people who have been here for a while might not embrace that, but I do feel that it's caught on.
But I think Diamond community is limiting because it only encompasses about 10 of the neighborhoods in Southeastern, not all of them.
It's a diamond, it's a jewel, and I feel that is a really appropriate name for this community.
For me, this is what makes me proud to be from Southeast. This is the Southeast San Diego that I represent. This is the Southeast San Diego that I'm proud of.
For me, by, I guess, reclaiming Southeastern San Diego, that's my way of leaving the negative behind.
And people who wear hats like this, people who wear Southeast on their shirts, those are the people who I'm proud to call friend, who I'm proud to call family members.
I'm from Southeast San Diego. That's what I call it. I'm going to always call it that.
I'm proud to wake up every day and to struggle to build kind of a better world and a better community for everybody. Southeast.
You can watch the rest of this series at kpbs.org/Where I Come From. We'd like to hear what you think about our series. Join the conversation on our KPBS Facebook page. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/Evening Edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.